2, 1.
Today what we're going to look at is the abdomen section of the rat. The abdomen, like your abdominal muscles, is right here. And we're going to slice this section open and take a look at some of the organ structures found in that area. To do that, we're going to find the rib cage, and the rib cage ends right about here, and I'm going to make an incision. That incision is just a poke right underneath the skin. We're not going to go too deep, otherwise we'll cut some of the organs underneath. And using my scissors here, I'm going to work towards the dorsal side. Remember, we talked about dorsal yesterday, and we're going to work all the way to the back on one side and all the way to the dorsal side on the other. I'm also going to make an incision that runs towards the posterior end here, and right about even with the hips, I'm going to work that to the sides too. So we're really just going to make an opening to the abdomen of the rat here. And as I do that, again, I'm going to stay away from cutting too deep. I just want to cut the skin and the muscle so that we can open this area up. As you're cutting the muscle part, be remembering some of the structures that we talked about yesterday. We had the pinnae as the ears, the vibrissae, and being able to figure out whether it's male or female. Now, on the inside of the rat, a few things that we're going to identify in the abdomen section here. Right here we have the liver. The liver has 3 lobes, and the directions that you have received tell you to identify some of the functions of the liver. We've talked about the liver in virtually every single unit so far. So if you went back to any of the notes from the circulatory system, digestive system, even the respiratory system and the excretory system, you find some functions of the liver. It comes as 3 different lobes. With that liver, remember, one of the functions is to produce something to help you digest your food. And for humans, it's stored in a place called the gallbladder. Read your directions on the rat to be able to find out where that gallbladder is. If we move some structures around, we're going to be able to find underneath here that a lot of these organs are connected by this clear tissue. It's really best that we remove some of that tissue away so we can start to really see some of those organs. And right now what I'm trying to isolate is the stomach. So if I pull some of that tissue away, we've got the stomach right here in pink. So we could zoom in on that a little bit. And if I slice this back a little bit here, I might be able to open that a little bit more. So here we've got the stomach, and we've got a tube here on the anterior end of the stomach. This tube right here is called the esophagus. That esophagus connects with the stomach, and we've got a ring-like set of muscles that would be on the inside of that connection, and those are sphincters. Just like at the posterior end of the stomach, we've got a sphincter that leads right up to the small intestine. That small intestine, if I open this up a little bit more, that small intestine starts at the stomach and works its way around. So a lot of this material here is small intestine. And remember, we said the small intestine isn't necessarily so short, it's just small in terms of diameter. Now, the large intestine comes next, and the easiest way to find the large intestine is to find this structure right here. It's called the cecum, and at the one end of it is this dead end sac called the appendix. That cecum is kind of a dividing point between small intestine and large intestine. And so if you find the cecum with the appendix, then the large intestine comes next. As you're pulling apart all the intestines, you're going to find really clear material here. This clear material is called mesentery, and it's there to keep the intestines intact, keep them together versus getting into knots and spreading around the abdomen. In addition, in here you're going to find some arteries and veins. As the small intestine absorbs nutrients, those arteries and veins are going to bring the nutrients to the rest of the body, and these mesentery or mesenteric arteries and veins are going to help in that process. As we loop back around, though, it's really tough to tell exactly where small intestine and large intestine are. Small intestine, easiest to see right next to the stomach, back here again. Large intestine, if you follow that large intestine out, we've got a tube that's going to lead out right here, and that large intestine is going to lead to the rectum and the anus. Going back to some other structures from the digestive system and circulatory system, right here we've got this long string bean sort of item here. This is the spleen. Underneath the spleen is the pancreas, and really honestly it's not a well-defined structure. It looks like a piece of chewed up gum, but the pancreas here to help you make insulin is right underneath the spleen, between the spleen and the stomach. The diaphragm is right up underneath the liver, so if I pull some of that clear material back again, you can see a sheet of muscle right here, and that sheet of muscle is the diaphragm to help the rat breathe. And that's really it. The digestive system, circulatory system, all function together to maintain that homeostasis that you read about yesterday.